headed across the country, or just need a little muscle, you can be confident in our upfront guaranteed pricing. Safe, convenient, reliable.
We made it.
Moving help, powered by U-Haul. Your move made easier.
Grammarly is your personal writing assistant for clear emails, confident messages, stronger essays, and more. Because sometimes the kitchen table is the office and the classroom. Grammarly offers suggestions to help you get work done from anywhere. It covers everything from correcting grammatical errors to rewording a phrase for an easier read, so you and your kids can learn to be better writers every time you type. Use it on your computer or phone for a stronger, more confident delivery wherever you write. Write with Grammarly. Download today at Grammarly.com.
Cover it up. That's what I did when I started losing my hair. Then I realized I could actually do something. Now I use Keeps, the easiest way to keep my hair. And it only costs $1 a day, which means no more covering up. Get started at Keeps.com.
Are you over the age of 50 and considering buying an annuity in the next 60 days? I have some important news for you. Don't buy an annuity until you understand the pros and cons of annuities. Call now for this free book on maximizing your income in retirement. Annuity Do's and Don'ts for Baby Boomers from leading financial firm J.D. Milberg. That's right, free. This book reveals little-known truths about annuities in simple-to-understand terms. Grab a pen right now because we're about to offer you this free book that unlocks the 5 little-known truths we believe baby boomers and seniors should know before buying an annuity. And it's free.
Call 800-439-8131.
As a bonus, we'll also throw in a free annuity rate report. We researched numerous products and summarized rates and benefits of annuities, all from Sentinel Security Life Insurance Company.
Call 800-439-8131. That's 800-439-8131. Call now.
Was there anything about the scene that you didn't want your cousin to see?
Yes.
And what was that?
A man terrified, scared, begging for his life.
The Derek Chauvin murder trial takes another gut-wrenching turn. Underage witnesses, their identities concealed, give heartbreaking testimony.
When I look at George Floyd, I look at my dad, I look at my brothers, I look at my cousins, my uncles, because they are all black. It's been nights I stayed up apologizing and apologizing to George Floyd for not doing more.
Children shattered by what they saw.
It was difficult because I felt like there wasn't really anything I could do as a bystander. The highest power was there, and I felt like I was feeling it.
We're live in Minneapolis. Also ahead.
But already, to our surprise, in certain parts of our state, vaccines remaining in the refrigerator. It's not moving into arms.
Taking a pass on a life-saving vaccine. Millions of Americans still don't want their COVID shot. But something important is changing. We're ahead of the trend tonight. Plus, is it a game changer? The Senate's most powerful Republican now open to reforming our gun laws. We're live on Capitol Hill this hour of Newsy Tonight.
Good evening. I'm Alex Miller in the chair for Chance Seals tonight on Newsy Tonight. 5 bystanders told the story of George Floyd's death through their eyes on the second day of Derek Chauvin's murder trial. Tuesday began with a witness who called 911 for help and the teenager who taped the viral video capturing Floyd's final moments for the entire world to see. As Camilla Bernal reports, what that young witness saw changed her life forever.
I believe I witnessed a murder. I felt the need to call the police.
That's what Tuesday's first witness, Donald Williams, a professional mixed martial arts fighter, said in court when asked why he called 911 after witnessing the last moments between former officer Derek Chauvin and George Floyd last May. Then a tense back and forth during the defense's cross-examination, attorney Eric Nelson repeatedly asking Williams if he became angry on scene.
You called him bogus.
I did.
You called him a bum at least 13 times.
That's what you counted in the video?
That's what I counted.
And that's what you got, 13. arrested.
Williams, who also worked security, insisted he was controlled and professional the entire time. The next witness, a minor at the time, who did not testify on camera and was identified as DF in court documents, told the jury why she decided to pull out her phone and record what was happening outside Cup Foods.
It wasn't right. He was suffering. He was in pain.
She ended by telling the jury she still wishes she had done more to stop Chauvin.
It's like, it's not what I should have done. It's what he should have done.
In Minneapolis, I'm Camila Bernal for Newsy.
This was a long day of testimony, and there's a lot you may have missed. So joining me now to break it all down, our powerhouse team, Vinnie Politan, a former prosecutor and lead anchor with our sister network, Court TV, and Newsy's justice reporter, Jamal Andrus. He's outside the Hennepin County Courthouse. Jamal, the defense declined to cross-examine one of the witnesses, a 9-year-old girl. We didn't get to see their faces, hers or the other minors, but their messages were compelling nonetheless. What stuck out to you?
You know, Alex, I think it is not an exaggeration to say the testimony we got from that teenage girl who recorded this now infamous video was one of the strongest things we've heard over the course of this trial. I want to play a bit of her testimony that stood out to me over the course of the day.
When I look at George Floyd, I look at my dad, I look at my brothers, I look at my cousins, my uncles. Because they are all black. I have a black father, I have a black brother, I have black friends.
I think that gives you a bit of insight into why this case struck a chord with so many, and cases like it do as well. You know, I mentioned that yesterday that this was the strongest piece of evidence that the prosecution has, and it makes sense that her testimony, the one who recorded this video, would also be one of the strongest testimonies that we heard. You know, I think it was a smart decision by the defense to not cross-examine that 9-year-old girl that testified and to keep the cross-examination of this teenager fairly short. You know, they have a lot to lose with cross-examining someone like that, a young, sympathetic witness, and not a lot to gain. With so much video on the scene, the facts weren't in dispute, but I think what the prosecution did here was take the jurors and put them on the scene and have them feel what these witnesses saw.
Yeah, it was tough to listen to these minors talking about basically a life-altering event. I want to bring back in Vinnie Politan with Court TV. I want to get your thoughts on this. These minors recounted their lived experiences. That ought to have a big effect on the jury, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you know, at the end of the day, the judge is going to say you judge the case on the facts and the law, but the emotion of a case is always a huge factor. Jurors are real people. They are human beings. They see, they feel things, and the way that the video and the story touch the world, it can have the same exact impact inside the courtroom, and today was one of those days.
I do want to play this one moment in the courtroom for you. I found it incredibly powerful, so I'm going to play it, and then let's talk about it on the other side.
There's a man being killed, and I would have, had I had access to a call similar to that, I would have been able to provide medical attention to the best of my abilities, and this human was denied that right.
I mean, she's clearly, obviously, distraught about essentially being able to provide aid and saying that she was forbidden from doing so. And so when you have witnesses say things like this, how does the defense come back from questioning like that?
Well, there's a couple of ways. One, in the big picture of the trial, is you've got to focus not on the emotion of the case, not to the reaction of seeing a human being die, but you've got to focus on the science. And that's the strength of the defense here, which is going to be cause of death and what the experts are going to say, including the expert for the state, who some of his testimony could help the defense. So the defense is going to shift the focus. Also, what they're doing with the bystander witnesses is taking a look at them and saying, listen, the bystanders were there, they experienced what they experienced, but some of them got angry, some of them got loud, some of them got intimidating. So you take some of the worst evidence against you and you try to turn it on its head to say, these officers were distracted and diverted because of the reaction of some of the people who were there that day. So you put all that together and you try to put together a case.
And you have that emotion bubbling up even in the courtroom as the judge basically told Genevieve Hansen to kind of cool off a little bit in the coming days if she testifies again. And so one last question to you both, just 30 seconds each. You both have reported on similar cases to this one. You know that it is tough to get a conviction against a police officer. Jamal, let's start with you. Does this case feel different to you than the other ones you've covered?
Yeah, it does feel different. You know, to give you an idea of how difficult it is to convict a police officer, between 2005 and 2020, 110 officers have been charged with murder and manslaughter, and only 42 of those have been convicted. The reason this feels different, though, is we haven't heard from the police unions or the Blue Lives Matter crowd nearly as much as we usually do. One of the starkest moments that stands out to me is Marco Mera, the president of the New York Police Benevolent Association this summer. He said, "I am not Derek Chauvin." Then he pointed to the dozen or so officers behind him and said, "Neither are they." That, to me, is extremely important when we come and see how exactly Derek Chauvin is going to fare in this trial.
And Vinny, quickly, does this feel different to you?
It definitely does, because in most cases involving police, the big issue is state of mind. I mean, a police officer gets up in the morning and goes to work. They don't go out to plan and commit a crime or commit a murder. They just don't. So that's why it's difficult to convict them, because anytime they're brought into one of these cases, it's pretty clear that it's during and in the line of duty. This is different, though, because of the video and the way we have experienced and see exactly what happened from moment to moment.
Yeah, I mean, to see that many people videotape the same event and have it played from every single angle, and we're just really at the beginning of this. Court TV lead anchor Vinny Politan and Newsy Justice reporter Jamal Andrus, thank you. We're going to see you again on Wednesday for more in-depth analysis without the spin. And now we want to give light to an important story we think you need to know about. It's our Newsy Tonight Spotlight. Hundreds of doses of the coronavirus vaccine are going to waste in Arizona, even as thousands of people are clamoring for appointments. Reasons vary from broken vials to no-show appointments, but our sister station in Phoenix discovered providers aren't reporting the waste to the state.
Obviously, there needs to be a reminder that those reports are required to be sent in immediately.
To me, it's not about, okay, it was 200 doses, it was 18 doses, it was 150 doses that were wasted. It's what did you learn from that event?
Arizona's health department is making changes. They adjusted the amount of doses to thaw, changed appointment scheduling, and will send unused shots to other vaccine sites. Each vial is so crucial at this moment. Even though vaccines are picking up, a new surge races close behind because of new variants, more travel, and loosening restrictions. Just yesterday, the CDC director fought back tears as she warned of dangerous times ahead.
I'm going to pause here. I'm going to lose the script, and I'm going to reflect on the recurring feeling I have of impending doom. We have so much to look forward to, so much promise and potential of where we are, and so much reason for hope. But right now, I'm scared. So I'm speaking today not necessarily as your CDC director, or not only as your CDC director, but as a wife, as a mother, as a daughter, to ask you to just please hold on a little while longer. I so badly want to be done. I know you all so badly want to be done. We are just almost there, but not quite yet.
So how concerned should we be about the spike in cases? Let's ask Dr. William Schaffner, a professor at Vanderbilt and an infectious disease expert. Okay, doctor, is Dr. Walensky going a bit overboard there, saying we're on the verge of impending doom, or is there real reason to be alarmed?
Well, Alex, I think Dr. Walensky is well advised to be concerned. All of us are. Here we are trying to vaccinate more and more people every day, but everybody's opening up with kind of abandon, not being very careful, and cases flattened out at first, and now they're ticking up again. And in some parts of the country, hospitalizations are increasing. And these are hospitalizations largely of middle-aged and younger persons.
Are you talking about people that are not yet vaccinated?
Yes, we're talking about people not yet vaccinated who are out and about, have taken off their masks, are going to bars, are going to restaurants, are being kind of frivolous. And you have this new British variant out there that's more contagious, and it's infecting more people. And you can see that the case numbers are going up over much of the country right now.
But when you look at data in Texas and Florida, they're actually doing pretty well. They're typical hotbeds, but they don't really seem as such at this point.
Well, they're not. And of course, COVID hasn't been the same all over the country. We're ticking up some. Michigan is having a real problem, as are some other parts of the country. What we need to do is, of course, keep vaccinating, get as many people in as possible. And pretty soon, over most of the country, any adult who would like to be vaccinated, and we hope that's everyone, will have access to vaccine.
You told one of our producers that we're actually reaching a critical moment because a lot of the people yet to receive a vaccines may be the ones who don't want one. So what are you seeing?
Well, at least in our neck of the woods, the eager beavers are still coming out. The early acceptors, they're being vaccinated. But already, to our surprise, in certain parts of our state, vaccines remaining in the refrigerator. It's not moving into arms. We have health departments that have appointments that are going unfilled.
Well, can you take us inside one of those conversations that doctors may be having with patients who are hesitant? Because, as you said, more data continues to come out about the effectiveness of these vaccines. So what should they be saying to those patients that they may not already know?
It's what we should be saying with those patients. First of all, we have to listen. We have to ask them, so, Frank, what's your problem? What are the issues that concern you? And then we need to be able to take some time to address those issues and make them feel good about being vaccinated. We have to respect the people who are hesitant, can't diss them, have to respect them, address their issues, and hope that we can recruit them in.
The Biden administration says that they're not going to make a federal registry to track who's received the vaccine, but on the state level, in places like New York, we're seeing the government launch the so-called vaccine passport system. So I have two questions for you. First, is the passport system a good idea? And if so, what should it allow somebody to do?
Well, the vaccine passport, we all get a certificate when we've been vaccinated. And some places, particularly private entities, are thinking about using that so that they can assure everybody who comes in is vaccinated, and they can tell customers everybody who works here is vaccinated. That may indeed encourage many people to get the vaccine and certainly have them feel comfortable.
Dr. William Schaffner of Vanderbilt, as always, it's great to have you with us and get your perspective as we enter this new phase. Thank you.
Thank you.
And once you get vaccinated, you're probably going to have the same question as everyone else, as I did when I got mine. When can I get back to a normal life? And the answer is, well, it's complicated. Doctors aren't sure yet whether the vaccine can stop transmission, but a national study is underway aimed at answering that critical question. Health reporter Lindsay Thies is on it.
This study will look at thousands of college students who will get the Moderna vaccine. Scientists are looking to see if it stops the spread of COVID over a 5-month period.
Are you ready?
College students across the country are helping scientists answer a big question. Can the COVID vaccine stop someone from shedding virus, spreading it to others?
Knowing whether or not the vaccine takes that extra step to prevent transmission in the community means folks can start to see what that end of that tunnel looks like.
If the coronavirus is something that's going to be persistent, possibly yearly thing like the flu, I think the research is going to be really important.
Enter Prevent COVID U. Just launched, the study will include 12,000 students from 21 universities. Everyone in the trial will eventually get the vaccine. Researchers will vaccinate half the students right away, while vaccinating the other half 4 months later.
It was a great opportunity for me to get vaccinated myself, while also, helping with this study that will benefit the nation.
Volunteers have to do daily nose swabs, get tested twice weekly at an on-campus saliva monitoring program, and complete daily questionnaires about symptoms on a smartphone app. They'll also have their blood drawn occasionally.
I'm pretty interested in research, and I'd love to be a part of it and help in any way I can.
It's a lot of data, but the findings will help capture infections in real time and track the amount of viral particles in a person over the entire course of an infection.
And one more note on COVID, an interesting comment from Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell telling Republican men to go get the vaccine.
And I can stand here as a Republican man. As soon as it was my turn, I took the vaccine. I would encourage all Republican men to do that.
A recent NPR PBS Marist poll found nearly half of Republican men don't want the vaccine. And that's compared to just 6% of men who identify as Democrats. McConnell making news on other fronts right now, too, including gun reform. Our Nate Reed tracking that.
Alex, Mitch McConnell saying that there's two key areas he might be willing to look at gun control and gun reform. We'll have the details for you from Capitol Hill after the break.
Getting caught up on the news needs to work with your schedule, and Newsy has you covered. Download our streaming app for Roku and Amazon Fire TV to get up to speed with the biggest stories of the day. Newsy, be informed, not influenced.
Fresh and Lean has a question for you. What if you could taste a bit of that success you're working so hard for right now? What if you had your own personal farmer, a personal chef? Oh, careful there, buddy. Personal delivery driver. Hey, Andy. The meals you want each week, guaranteed. Like literally, all of these. That is some tasty success right there. Order organic farm-to-table chef-cooked meals. Delivered to your door, ready to eat. Fresh and lean. Feed your potential.
Everyone hates spam calls. Luckily, there's RoboKiller. Patented in the USA. RoboKiller eliminates 99% of spam calls. Download RoboKiller today.
Pets have their own way of saying hello every time you walk through the door, and they're not the only ones. When you need to walk through this door, we'll have our own way of saying hello too, and we can pay your veterinarian directly so you don't have to. Trupanion, medical insurance for cats and dogs.
This is Fracture. Just upload an image, place your order, and it'll show up at your door beautifully printed directly on glass. And this isn't just another frame, not just another canvas. This is new. This is a Fracture. Visit FractureMe.com and print one today.
I have, over my 30 years, seen many patients who have excessive sweating. It is very much a confidence killer. Excessive sweating is not something you have to live with. I recommend Carpe for my patients.
Carpe is by far the most effective antiperspirant I've ever used.
I love Carpe. Now I don't sweat.
Effective and affordable. It's a game changer.
Avoid expensive treatments, injections, and prescriptions. Your total body sweat solution is available at mycarpe.com. Visit today and get free shipping.
Refinancing with Splash saved me a lot of money.
There were no application fees or any weird hidden fees.
Now that I refinance with Splash, I know I'll finish paying off my student loans way sooner than later.
I feel better about my student loans.
Visit splashfinancial.com/save.
Time for new reading classes? Go to readers.com. Choose from hundreds of styles and colors for under $20. And now, enter this exclusive TV coupon code at checkout to save up to 40%. That's readers.com.
Personal Capital wants to know, are you worried about the state of the world?
How about your retirement? It's time to get a plan. Download award-winning, free professional-grade tools and take control of your financial future with Personal Capital. See if you're on track for retirement success and get financial confidence. Are you ready to take control? Join millions of others and download free financial tools today at personalcapital.com.
The Boulder police officer killed in last week's mass shooting was laid to rest on Tuesday. Hundreds showed up to pay their respects to Eric Talley. The father of 7 was the first officer to run into the supermarket and confront the gunman. Talley's patrol car parked in front of the Boulder police station has become a memorial with cards and flowers and messages of support. The Boulder and Atlanta shootings have once again sparked debate over gun control measures. And it got some surprise support this week. Newsy congressional reporter Nate Reed joins us now from Capitol Hill. Nate, Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell is opening the conversation on gun reform a little. The House recently passed legislation on this issue, which was a non-starter with Republicans and honestly even some Democrats. So what is he open to?
Well, Mitch McConnell made these comments back at home in Kentucky in response to a question from our sister station, WLEX 18, home in Lexington, Kentucky. This is what he had to say about potentially some of the areas where they could expand additional work to be done on gun control and gun reform.
I think it is accurate to say that none of the mass shootings that we've seen would have been impacted by a background check bill. I'd like to do something about the problem. And I fully admit it is not easy to tackle this kind of mental illness. We've seen a pattern here. It's typically young men.
Now, it's worth noting that his comments are something that a lot of Democrats up here on the Hill have acknowledged. The previous mass shootings wouldn't necessarily have been stopped due to expanded background checks because there isn't any indication that either of the shooters in Atlanta or in Colorado would have failed a background check because of their past, because they didn't have any suspicious behavior in the past that would have precluded them from actually receiving a gun or passing a background check. And so just to dig into what Mitch McConnell's actually saying, to read in between the lines there, what he appears to be referring to are these potential red flag laws, ideas that someone in your community, a member of your family, a member of the police, can actually go to a judge or go to some centralized system to prevent you from having a gun or to take your gun if you're exhibiting behavior which seems suspect.
You know, it's interesting, though. I've talked to so many Republicans in Congress and people in gun rights groups who don't even want to see that happen. But look, when Senate Minority Leader McConnell was Senate Majority Leader McConnell, he did not touch this issue with a 10-foot pole. So why the shift, and where was he after other mass shootings, especially the ones that happened during his time in power? Parkland, Vegas, Orlando, Charleston. Nate, they all happened under his watch.
That's exactly right. Mitch McConnell, as Senate Majority Leader back in the day, was someone who really only took up legislation that he saw passing. It was very rare in his career as Majority Leader that he took up legislation he felt wouldn't pass, basically just for a symbolic vote. And so at this point, he is talking about it, partially because a reporter asked him about it, but also because, frankly, Democrats have a huge appetite to move forward on this. And frankly, opinion polls show that there is an appetite among many members of the country, and there has been for many years, to move forward on some form of expanded gun control. So I think this could be a calculation of he'd rather be part of these conversations when they're trying to pass something which can garner bipartisan support, than be left out. Now, if McConnell is able to throw his support behind some sort of gun control measure, that would certainly have a flying chance of passing the Senate, just because with Mitch McConnell, you get a lot of other institutionalists in the Senate who might be willing to vote along with their former majority leader.
Exactly. They're going to follow his lead. And the NRA has staunch opposition to pretty much any proposal. And we've seen members of Congress who rely on them for fundraising follow suit. So where do actual Americans stand on this? And could that be, in the end, why he's shifting?
Well, if you look at the Pew Research numbers on this, in the last year, about 57% of Americans say that they feel that gun laws should be made more strict. Only 9% of Americans or so say that gun laws need to be more liberal, more relaxed, more loose. And so, frankly, there is a lot of national public support. I think it's worth noting a statistic like that might not account for the fact many Americans who oppose these laws may have representation and live in rural areas. Remember, 80% of Americans live in urban areas and might have different views on gun laws and gun control than those living in a more rural area where hunting and self-protection are more prevalent.
Absolutely. Nate Reed on Capitol Hill, thanks so much. And coming up, a barricaded intersection calling for justice for George Floyd is now closing off business for restaurant owners. Why some of those business owners say they're still behind the cause, while patrons say they're not sure they're welcome. Plus,
it's heartbreaking and it's a mess.
And tiny border towns struggling to keep up with the influx of young migrants seeking asylum in the United States. What local officials say they need next.
Like what you're seeing from Newsy? Maybe you have a suggestion. Well, we want to hear from you. You can get in touch with us at feedback@newsy.com anytime. Newsy, be informed, not influenced.
With the TouchNote app, you can send your favorite photos as real cards straight from your phone. Simply choose your photo, write a message, and tap send. Stay close to those you love with 2 free cards on us and free worldwide delivery. Download the TouchNote app.
Calm. Download the free app now.
First Leaf Wine Club is the best way for you to discover your new favorite wines delivered straight to your door. It's super easy to skip and schedule deliveries. Take a short quiz, rate the wines you try, and every box gets better based on your input.
Native women have told me that what you do when you raise a daughter is you prepare her for what to do when she's raped, not if, but when.
Justice wasn't served, in my opinion.
Why are we different than every other person? Why don't we have the justice everybody else does?
It's hard to be a police officer here. Who else is going to be here to be somebody else's hope?
Is your bathroom looking old and worn out? Want to update it, but you don't know where to start? Then let BCI Bath & Shower show you how to turn that old bath into an aisle of beauty and functionality.
Remodeling our bathroom was a big decision for us.
They didn't make a mess out of our house at all. And at the end of the day, we had a beautiful new bathroom.
For a limited time, be one of the first 100 callers who schedule a free in-home consultation and receive $500 off. Factory-trained and certified installers made in the USA and discounts for seniors and military.
Are you getting the most out of your Medicare plan? Many people with Medicare are eligible for plans that include extra benefits in addition to those found in original Medicare. Benefits like dental, vision, and prescription drug coverage. In many areas, plans with benefits are available with $0 monthly premiums or $0 deductibles. Call now. The consultation is free and there's no obligation to enroll.
Call 1-800-427-0908. That's 1-800-427-0908.
It's been nights. I stayed up apologizing and apologizing to George Floyd for not doing more and not physically interacting and not saving his life. But
Day 2 of the Derek Chauvin trial included powerful and had sometimes emotional testimony from young bystanders who witnessed Floyd's arrest. It was an effort by the prosecution to showcase the trauma the event left on members of the community. But Floyd's death has also had a wider impact on businesses just feet away from where it all took place. Let's bring Newsy's Jamal Andrus back in for more insight. Jamal, what are we hearing from business owners in George Floyd Square?
Yeah, you know, Alex, for many of the businesses in that area, they just can't catch a break. They dealt with the pandemic in March, and then 2 months later, obviously, George Floyd is killed on that corner. And for the black businesses specifically, they're really at a crossroads because while they want to see justice done, they don't want to lose their business waiting on it.
I haven't missed the payroll since I opened this business, and I'm not going to miss the payroll.
At the intersection of 38th Street and Chicago Avenue in Minneapolis, Ivy Alexander is barely keeping her business running.
We're robbing Peter to pay Paul.
For Ivy and her husband Dwight, business has been sporadic since George Floyd's death, who was killed just steps from their restaurant, Smoke in the Pit.
It brought an influx of people down here, and so we could hardly keep up with the business the first couple of months. But then after, you know, that started trickling off, and we realized that we were kind of in a square blocked off here.
Barricades set up by the city block each entrance to this intersection. Occasionally, you'll find volunteers monitoring the entryway. And while activists say all are welcome here, some patrons don't feel that way.
Dwight had to walk a block or two or more to go get our supplies. Garbage was piling up because they weren't letting the garbage collector come in.
As soon as we opened, all the odds was against us. Ever since we got the location.
And the Alexanders aren't alone. Cedric Steele, co-owner of Just Turkey Restaurant, says people can't find his restaurant since it's behind the barricades.
I get a million phone calls every day because people don't know how to come to, you know, come to the restaurant.
As the trial of Derek Chauvin gets underway, both Alexander and Steele say the only thing that will reopen the intersection is justice for Floyd's family.
I don't blame any of the volunteers down here. I don't blame the activists. I don't blame anyone down here because we are all in agreement of what needs to happen because of this social injustice.
The city of Minneapolis says it is working on plans to improve the intersection. For activists here, justice requires the city to meet a list of 24 demands. This includes the completion of the trials of all 4 officers charged in Floyd's death. Until then, a handful of empty storefronts and a vacant Speedway gas station stand as reminders of what could occur if things don't change for business owners.
We're hoping that that there is a solution. There is an end date that they will open up the street because we want the street open. We need the street open. We're not going to give up.
Now, Alex, there is some relief on the way. That $27 million settlement that the George Floyd family reached with the city of Minneapolis, $500,000 of that is going to be donated to revitalizing George Floyd Square. But both of the business owners that you just heard from say they don't know how that money is being distributed or who's in charge of distributing that money as well.
Newsy Justice reporter Jamal Andrus, thanks for staying on top of every angle of this story. And New York police are searching for a man who brutally attacked an Asian woman on the street Monday. It's just the latest in a slew of anti-Asian attacks. Newsy national reporter Kat Sandoval has the latest details. And a quick warning, this video is hard to watch.
In Midtown Manhattan Monday, a 65-year-old Filipino-American woman on her way to church was kicked and stomped on the head, not once, but 3 times, while the perpetrator reportedly made anti-Asian statements, telling her, "You don't belong here." The video shows a building staff member closing the front door after the attacker fled.
Seeing that security guard not even step in to help and instead close the door on her. I feel like that's how the rest of Asian Americans feel, that our voices don't matter, our lives don't matter.
The building owner suspended the staff involved pending an investigation, and the woman was hospitalized with serious injuries. The NYPD has opened a hate crime investigation, and the suspect, who appears to be a person of color, hasn't yet been found. There are reports he is a homeless man often seen wandering the neighborhood.
White supremacy and racism can actually manifest in people of color, and that is something that I feel like people disregard, especially from a darker skinned person. I think that is a status quo that people need to unlearn.
This comes amid a year of anti-Asian incidents, nearly 3,800 reported since the start of the pandemic. For Newsy, I'm Kat Sandoval.
In response to the spike in anti-Asian attacks, the Biden administration is announcing multiple policy initiatives. The Justice Department will track anti-Asian hate crimes and work with community organizations. The FBI will hold training sessions for state and local law enforcement, and $50 million will directly help Asian American victims of domestic violence and sexual assault. Another $30 million will fund grants that look at bias and xenophobia. And a top defense official is now under fire for some problematic posts involving Republicans. Newsy Pentagon reporter Trace Garnier has been following this story. Trace, what do we know so far?
A top military official is under investigation after sharing controversial posts on social media. And that official, Special Operations Command's new diversity chief.
It took just hours for the backlash against Richard Torres Estrada to begin. As news broke of his new role, these memes began to surface. This one depicts former President Trump in a similar pose as Adolf Hitler. Another showing the three bears being arrested outside a home with the caption, quote, "If you still don't understand how racism works, remember she," meaning Goldilocks, broke into their house. Hashtag stop racism. He also made other posts depicting members of Congress, like a missing poster of Senator Ted Cruz. Now members of Congress are adding to the growing chorus of concerns. In a letter to the Defense Secretary, Republican Congressman Bill Johnson of Ohio described Torres Estrada's post as disqualifying and demanded his resignation. Pentagon Press Secretary John Kirby says the Defense Secretary is aware of the investigation.
He appreciated being kept apprised of that, and that he supports the work that they're doing to look at this more deeply.
Torres Estrada was touted as having 2 decades of experience working in federal agency diversity programs when he was appointed.
Alex, no word yet on when the investigation will be complete, but what we do know is that Torres Estrada will be assigned to other duties for now. Back to you.
And you're looking at CBP's main detention facility at the southern border. More than 4,000 migrants are being held at this facility in Donna, Texas. Keep in mind, its allowed capacity during the pandemic is just 250. 4,000 to 250. What a difference. Most of the migrants are being held here. They're unaccompanied minors. These kids spend an average of 133 hours in the facility. Some have been there longer than 15 days. That 133 hours is well beyond the legal limit of 72 hours. Right now, these kids are sleeping in 3,200 square foot pods, each meant to hold just 32 kids. But CBS is reporting that some are holding closer to 500, even 600 minors.
When I see those beautiful faces in front of me, all I can think of is, I can't imagine my nieces being by themselves out anywhere, without anybody taking care of them.
Hundreds of migrant girls are now staying at the San Diego Convention Center as they seek asylum in the United States. They arrived at the center over the weekend, where they'll wait to be processed and connected with either a family member or a sponsor. At least 70 of those migrants tested positive for COVID-19. Federal officials are working to keep everyone safe and healthy, but more resources are sorely needed. Let's bring in Barnini Chakraborty for more insight. She's the senior investigations reporter with the Washington Examiner. Barnini, the numbers of unaccompanied minors crossing the border is just continuing to grow. Have you learned anything about the administration's plan to deal with this influx if they can't stop them from coming to the border altogether?
Well, right now, what we're hearing is that there are going to be at least 2 new facilities that they're going to be constructing to deal with the influx in Arizona. And that's likely going to be in Tucson as well as in Yuma. When we talk about unaccompanied minors, the Yuma sector just this year, they apprehended 945 unaccompanied minors. And in Tucson, that number has jumped to 4,000. The Biden administration also announced that they were going to be deploying FEMA officials here. The problem is that there hasn't been really very good communication with the folks in Arizona. So they know that FEMA's coming, but they don't know how many FEMA folks will be here, where they'll be deployed, or when they're going to get here.
Yeah, I feel like the focus has been at least somewhat on Texas more than on Arizona. And in the last article that you wrote, you said that the mayor of a small town in Arizona called Gila Bend declared a state of emergency last week to draw attention to the border crisis in his own community. So can you explain for our viewers what the situation looks like down there?
Honestly, when I think about Gila Bend, I think it is the 2 words that come to mind is that it's heartbreaking and it's a mess. Just a couple of weeks ago, 16 migrants were dropped off in the town. They were hungry, they were scared, they were confused, they didn't know where they were, they lacked hygiene products, and they were just dropped in the middle of a park. To you and I, as well as to folks in Texas that have seen huge, jumps in migrants coming over, 16 doesn't sound like a huge number, but for a town like Gila Bend, it's a crisis. It's an emergency. Gila Bend has less than 2,000 people who live there. Gila Bend, they don't have a hospital. They have no transportation. They don't have emergency shelters, and they don't have NGOs rushing in. They don't have churches there to help. And so really they're on their own. And so when 16 people are dropped off, it's rough. It's an emergency. It's a crisis.
Has he heard anything from the Department of Homeland Security about getting more resources in his community? And what kind of resources, considering even when the migrants are being dropped off in these places, most of the time they don't actually stay in the border towns that they're coming through?
Right. So I think that's a really good point, actually. First of all, he has not heard from the Department of Homeland Security. He hasn't heard from at least the last time we checked with him, he hasn't. I spoke to the Yuma mayor yesterday, and I asked him what resources that they needed. And he said what he needed was transportation. And they need transportation because in previous years, migrants weren't dropped off in towns like Yuma, in cities like Yuma or towns like Gila Bend. So they didn't have to deal with it. They didn't have to worry about it. But now they do, and they don't have the resources to help.
Barnini Chakraborty, thank you so much for being with us.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Coming up, we dive into the latest item the Biden administration's looking to tick off its checklist, federal judges. Democrats are urging President Biden to fill the seats ASAP. So what's the rush? Newsy's Nate Reed explains how these vacancies can have long-term impacts next.
Tortured my brother to death.
The whole world is watching the situation. We have to hold cops accountable.
Now there's a new way Experian Boost can raise your credit scores.
So just by paying for my streaming services, I'm actually boosting my credit score? That's amazing.
Now, paying for Netflix, Hulu, and more can boost your credit scores. Only at Experian.com/boost.
Stunning! You did this? You could totally be a designer.
Rugs USA is my secret weapon. They make it easy to find a rug that pulls a room together.
Wait, are these prices for real?
Yes. Go to rugsusa.com/TV for an extra 10% off now. Always free shipping.
I'm not ready to lose my hair. Not now. But I never thought there was a real solution. Now I use Keeps, the easiest way to keep my hair. And I can get my treatment without leaving the couch. Go to Keeps.com to learn more.
Started today, and I won't let nothing stand in my way. Be the new you. Be the new you.
Go to TotalGymDirect.com and check out the incredible deals.
Sports fans are gearing up at Fanatics.com, the world's largest collection of officially licensed fan gear. From all the leagues, teams, and players you love. Shop now and get today's special offer. Fanatics.com, officially licensed everything.
How are you feeling right now? Comfortable? Well, you could be more comfortable in Mack Weldon. Put a Pima tee on and tee off. Or just keep binging your favorite show in our Ace sweatpants. Upgrade your downtime at MackWeldon.com.
Yes, I do invest, but I would love an app that's going to make my work easier. So whenever I'm on the go, whenever I'm traveling, I can just pick up my phone and see my stock. That's the app for me.
My son needs this drug. I hope it doesn't cost too much. I hope my insurance pays for it. Can you tell me how much this will be?
67.
Sorry.
Wait, have you heard about GoodRx? GoodRx finds free coupons to help you save up to 80% on your prescriptions.
Wow. I had no idea.
GoodRx. Stop paying too much for your prescriptions.
No time to read? The Blinkist app gives you the key ideas from the world's best nonfiction books in just 15 minutes. And with audio, you can listen and learn on the go. Fit reading into your life with Blinkist. Visit Blinkist.com or download the Blinkist app now.
Dozens of NFL owners are meeting this week to look at what's ahead for the 2021 season. The 32 team owners met virtually Tuesday, voting to increase the number of regular season games from 16 to 17. They also decided to lower the number of preseason games from 4 to 3. Rule changes will be discussed in mid-April. And Amazon employees accused the company of years of retaliation to interfere in their rights to form a union. That's according to NBC News. The National Labor Relations Board received at least 36 complaints during the pandemic, tripling in size from 2019. Workers say Amazon is surveilling employees, boosting anti-union propaganda, and fired or disciplined employees for protected activity. The Justice Department is reportedly investigating Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz for a possible sexual relationship with a 17-year-old girl. Sources tell the New York Times they're investigating whether the 38-year-old Republican broke sex trafficking laws because Gaetz paid for her to travel with him across state lines. Gaetz's spokesperson tells Newsy the claims are false and are part of a $25 million extortion plot against him. Approve of the way President Biden is handling the pandemic. That's according to a new NPR Marist poll, which shows that 2/3 of Americans view his COVID response positively. The president has slightly lower marks when it comes to his handling of the economy, with about half of those polled giving their approval. His lowest marks tied to immigration, where just 1/3 of those polled gave their approval. The Biden administration has some lofty policy goals when it comes to voting rights, gun laws, and so much more. But another priority, confirming federal judges, may be equally as important if the president wants to fulfill his promises and make sure they stick. Let's bring in Nate Reed in Washington. Nate, we saw a ton of judges confirmed during the Trump administration. This was really goal number one for Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell. Are we seeing Biden make it a similar priority?
Well, just a stunning fact for you, according to Pew Research, 1/4 of all judges currently serving on the federal judiciary were appointed under former President Trump. He appointed 226 judges across the federal judiciary in every federal district court across the country. That was in just 4 years. Obama, in 8 years, appointed 320. So, of course, Trump appointing a lot of judges for just a single-term president, a much higher number than many of the presidents before him who served 2 consecutive terms, at least at a rate. And so certainly this is a priority for the Biden administration because they're releasing this list so early. And one of the things is this list looks a whole lot more diverse than the nominees. that President Trump appointed to the court. Many of them were older or middle-aged white men. A lot of these folks, 3 of them are black women. A lot of others are other minorities. You would have the first, I believe, Asian woman appointed to the court in D.C., along with the first Muslim judge in the U.S., if these are all appointed. But of course, the most valuable thing is floor time in the U.S. Senate to actually take the time, get through every nomination, and confirm these folks to the court.
Yeah, Democrats have a slim majority in the Senate where these judges would be confirmed. And we've already seen that slim majority create numerous issues for them, whether it was the stimulus bill, gun reform, Biden's cabinet picks. So will it be any different with these judicial picks? And can we count on those at least to be a shoo-in?
Well, one of the things that was said by a lot of news outlets this morning is the fact that many of these judges have somewhat of an alternative background. They haven't done the typical feeder things. They haven't worked for the big law firms that many of these federal judges often work for before they're appointed. So certainly that could be an obstacle to their confirmation. But remember, the filibuster was nuked in 2013 by former Democratic Majority Leader Harry Reid of Nevada. That means that it only requires 51 votes to put these folks on the courts. But remember, with only 51 votes and Democrats having 50 votes in the chamber, Kamala Harris that one tie-breaking vote, that means any Democratic defections, if someone like a Joe Manchin, if someone like a Tammy Duckworth decided that there wasn't enough diversity between the nominees, something she said last week about his other cabinet appointees, then certainly any Democrat could sink a nomination of one of these judges. Of course, this is going to take up a whole lot of time, and we expect this later this year at some point to actually work its way through the Senate.
This 50-50 split proving a little bit harder than I think the Biden administration initially thought. Nate Reed in Washington, thank you. And a blast from the past as lockdown-weary Americans look for a new source of entertainment. The lowdown in the growing pinball scene. Straight ahead.
Hey, I'm Christian Bryant. Every weeknight on In the Loop, we cut through the noise with a mix of headlines and features. Definitely not your traditional nightly news show. So come join us. We've got stuff to talk about.
Sick of annoying spam calls? RoboKiller eliminates 99% of unwanted calls. And our answer bots have fun blocking your robocalls.
There's a shark circling my boat. Hang on.
You gotta hit him in the nose. Yes.
I'm almost done. I'm sorry. Just give me 2 seconds. I gotta.
So you can live your life spam call free. Download RoboKiller today.
It's really hard to save money when you owe money. So why are you paying high interest on your student loans? A new lower interest rate can save you thousands, and Splash can find you that new low rate from our network of lenders. Get debt-free faster. Visit splashfinancial.com today.
Non-attorney spokesperson. This is a paid advertisement for legal services sponsored by Nightline Legal. Cases assigned on a random basis to participating law firms. This drug remains approved by the FDA. If you or a loved one regularly took Zantac and were later diagnosed with cancer, call right now. You may be entitled to financial compensation. Potential cancers include bladder cancer, colon cancer, kidney cancer, stomach cancer, liver cancer, pancreatic cancer. Do not stop taking a prescribed medication without first consulting with your doctor. Discontinuing a prescribed medication without your doctor's advice can result in injury or death.
Call 1-800-734-4105.
Calm. Download the free app now. The bladder control aisle. You won't shop here again. Your private business is your own. The constant struggle is over. Now there's a better way. It's HDIS. We home deliver bladder control products. We understand how you feel. For over 25 years, we've home delivered to many of the 20 million Americans who deal with incontinence. We offer all brands. We pay shipping and use plain, unmarked boxes. If we can help you or someone you care for, call for your free product sample pack and $45 in money-saving coupons. Our counselors will help you choose the right product. And unlike stores, we're always in stock. You'll get what you need. Satisfaction guaranteed. HDIS, the better way.
For your free sample pack with your free catalog,
$45 in money-saving coupons, and free product samples, call 1-800-509-2142. That's 1-800-509-2142.
File this under, we swear we're not making it up. Nike is suing rapper Lil Nas X of Old Town Road fame for his Satan shoes. The collaboration with a New York art collective includes a pentagram, an upside-down cross, and a drop of human blood in the air bubbles of the Nike shoes. They're being sold for about $1,000, and they're rare. Only 666 pairs were produced, because of course. All right, dust off that old pinball machine. The arcade classic is making quite a comeback these days. Dan Grossman has the details on this sudden surge of pinball popularity.
While the COVID-19 pandemic may have forced several businesses to close, it hasn't spelled game over for everyone's passions. Kelly Thompson owns Utah Pinball Repair, and he's a collector of the machines too.
It's just something that you get passionate about.
He said since the beginning of the pandemic, he's had an increase in calls from people wanting him to come and check out their pinball machines and help them get them working again.
Definitely since the pandemic, people being at home, if they had a machine sitting in their basement, they noticed it, and then it's inspired them to call me to come fix their machines.
Thompson isn't the only one seeing more business from pinball during the pandemic. Quarters Arcade Bar in downtown Salt Lake City is noticing it too.
We were closed for 3 months, so that was the hardest part. Reopening was nerve-wracking, but after being open for 4 months now, we're kind of used to the new normal.
That new normal is spacing out machines using plexiglass dividers at the bar and cleaning down all surfaces regularly, as well as requiring people to wear masks and be socially distant. Michael Eccleston, the owner of Quarters, said he doesn't see some of his regulars anymore, but now he says he's seeing new regulars who haven't played before or in quite some time.
We're going to be starting up Pinball League Night again, so hopefully we'll be able to start rebuilding our community.
Both Eccleston and Thompson said they're seeing more interest in home pinball play too, whether it's buying or renting machines. As you can imagine, not all pinball machines are the same. If you are thinking about investing in one, there are a few things you need to do, like check it out, play around with it. Does it seem quite right to you? Of course, every pinball machine has its own story, so check that story with the owner to make sure it all lines up.
The kind of joke